Okay, but why is no one talking about how much cuter your wardrobe is when you make it yourself? Literally, that's why I decided to make my entire summer wardrobe from scratch, starting with this ill-fitting shirt and turning it into the cutest halter top you've ever seen. Okay, right here you can see I took the measurement from right under my boob and I went all the way up a little bit past my neck because I wanted some extra room on the strap to be able to tie it. I didn't have enough because the shirt was so small. So you actually see me later on have to go and actually add more onto the top of it. But right here, I took the measurement from the middle of my sternum to about my underarm, I believe, and that was, I think, about 7 inches. So I made a little triangle. It was 7 inches on the bottom, and then all the way up to the top of the measurement that I got from my strap, and then I left it like an inch at the very top. So it was like, or like 1.5 inches. It was 1.5 inches. So I took 1.5 inch down. I think it was 23 inches, and then the very bottom of the triangle was 7 inches. And there you see me cutting it. And okay, look, I did something so stupid. Instead of drawing out both sides of the triangle, just drawing out the entire triangle and cutting it out like with the guideline, I literally only drew like half of the triangle and then flipped it over. Yeah, see, I flipped it over and then cut it like that. And that my lines were so jagged, I don't recommend it. Just take the time and actually draw it out. But yeah, here I am. I finished that. That's actually gonna be our cup. Okay, and you see here, that's actually the arm. So before I had debated like seam ripping the entire shirt so that I can make the most out of my fabric, and I didn't do it. Big mistake. And I had after I cut out the two cups, I had to go in and I had to completely like seam rip everything. It took me 3 hours. It was a whole long process. And with that arm, I actually figured out I can make that like the part that I sewed the cups onto. And then I would just like cut straps, which is what you see me doing right here. I measured the bottom of the um sleeve and then I just made it, I think it was like 5.5 inches. And I made some straps with the back of the shirt that were 5.5 inches. And I just cut two of those out so that I have both sides. So you see me here marking it and then you'll see me cutting it in a second. And then I didn't leave the what is that called? Oh my gosh, brain fart. The sleeve. I didn't leave the sleeve like cut like that. I cut it down on the top. I think about an inch, and then I made the lines like going up the slope from the middle of the sleeve. I made them a little more straight so that it was more like a hexagon, not hexagon, polygon. I think it's a polygon that is like an angular shape, right? It's been a long time since I've been in school, at least 7 or 8 years. It's been a while. I don't know the names of those shapes. I think it's a polygon, but I made it more like even. And then right here, you can see I'm actually cutting out those extra strips for the top of cup, uh, my cup things that you tie. Yeah, I'm talking a lot and I don't know what I'm saying now. And guys, please, bear with me. This is a 12-minute long video. I'm so sorry. Yeah, well, you can see I'm placing it out so that I know. And my camera messed up. Don't worry, we're fine. Actually, because I ended up seam ripping everything, all the seams and everything, they were like folded over. So I was like, well, great. I have to now, iron it. So you see me going through and I'm ironing every piece. Guys, this is not the last time I iron it. I think I cut out the other footage of me actually ironing. But I do, in fact, have to go in and I have to iron again. And as I'm like going through and ironing, I did decide that I was going to add a lining. So after I go through and I iron all this, I spend an hour scouring my house looking for just plain white fabric that I can line this with so that I don't have to hem it. See, and I found the lining. Oh, goodness gracious. Guys, I am so sorry about that camera quality. I did not realize, wow. But yeah, I found some lining, and here I am. I lost some footage of me actually going through and cutting all of the lining. You guys don't want to see it anyways. Here I am sewing them together face to face, and then I'm gonna go through and I'm actually going to flip them right side out, and then I'm gonna go, and then again, I have to iron them again because the seam wasn't completely flat. So I iron them to make the seam completely flat, and then I go over and I re-sew over the seam so that it's a little more neat looking. A little more neat looking. Okay, and here you're gonna see me go through. I didn't show you sewing that piece, but you just see me going through and again sewing along that seam just to make sure everything is sewn into place and it looks super duper neat and nothing's gonna come undone. Okay, and you can actually see right here what I was talking about earlier with that sleeve portion, how I kind of cut it to be a little bit more angular at the top and made the lines a bit more straight just because that was going to make it a lot easier for me to be able to sew the cups onto it. And I don't know if you can tell, but somewhere in between these clips, I did actually, instead of leaving the cups completely like straight and flat on the very bottom, I actually cut them at a bit of an angle so that it would kind of align just a bit more with that portion that goes right there under the breast. Now, I believe here in a second, I do have a still frame showing you exactly how these seams end up looking, which this is actually the first time I've ever done like a seam like this before. And honestly, it's a lot of prep work, but it looks so much better, especially because I have a very hard time with doing like regular seams. Like, look, yeah, a close up in that. See that stitch right there? Mm, beautiful, and it looks perfect like that on the other side as well. Okay, so here I am actually aligning everything. See how you can see, like I cut the cups at an angle. So, and look, guys, I hadn't used pins at all through this entire process. And look at it, look at me now, using pins now. Can you believe it? I'm so proud of myself. Truly, like thinking through this whole process, I genuinely am so proud of the outcome. It's not perfect. And there are things that I do need to change about the pattern. Which, oh yeah, in between clips, I did find my pattern paper and I traced everything and I made it a pattern. But there are some things that I would like to alter, especially the cup. I think somewhere there either needs to be maybe a dart added, or I think there's a way that I can sew like along the bottom and kind of ruche it in on itself so that it can kind of form more of a cup and not just like this flat piece that's just like covering your vest, you know what I mean? So I definitely need to alter it just a tad bit. And then I think it would be really cool if I added like a wire underbust to it as well, just to add a little more support because I didn't like how little of the support there was to the top, which I know is something that comes with these tops, but like, I don't know. I feel like I would want a little bit more. So I need to definitely adjust the bottom of the cup, but I think all in all, that's the only really major change that I need to make to the pattern. And I will be trying this again. I do have some other fabric that I do want to make a cup like this with. So maybe part two, maybe part three. I have some other things that I want to do. All right, guys, here's the final look. Okay, bye.